The Cleveland Browns quarterback controversy just took a dramatic turn that has the entire NFL world absolutely buzzing right now, and what head coach Kevin Stefanski just revealed is sending shockwaves through the football landscape. After a brutal, soul-crushing loss to the San Francisco 49ers where nothing seemed to work and the offense looked absolutely lifeless, Stefanski faced the media and dropped a bombshell announcement that's going to dominate sports talk radio for the next week. Shedeur Sanders will remain the starting quarterback for the Browns' Week 14 matchup against the Tennessee Titans and rookie sensation Cam Ward. That's right, despite struggling against San Francisco, despite the ankle injury scare, despite the questions and the doubt, Stefanski is sticking with his fifth-round rookie. But here's where this story gets absolutely fascinating. This isn't just about one game or one decision. This is about the entire future direction of the Cleveland Browns franchise, and what happens in the next few weeks could determine whether they're drafting another quarterback in the first round or whether they finally, mercifully, after decades of failure, found their guy. Let me take you inside what just happened because the implications of this decision are absolutely massive for everyone involved. Kevin Stefanski stood at that podium after watching his team get absolutely dismantled by San Francisco, after seeing his offense manage a pathetic 8 points, after watching Shedeur Sanders struggle to find any rhythm against a 49ers defense that's missing its two best players. And when the inevitable question came about who's starting at quarterback next week, Stefanski didn't hesitate. Shedeur Sanders will get another week as QB1. The audition continues. The evaluation process rolls forward. And Dillon Gabriel, the guy who started the season as the presumptive franchise quarterback, remains on the sideline, watching it all unfold. Now, before we dive into what this means for the Browns' future, we need to talk about what actually happened in that San Francisco game because the performance was, let's be honest, pretty rough. Shedeur Sanders completed 19 of 32 passes for 168 yards with no touchdowns and 1 interception. His passer rating was a dismal 59.9. The Browns' offense as a whole managed just 8 points against a 49ers defense that came into the game ranked in the bottom half of the league in most defensive categories. Nothing worked. The timing was off. The protection broke down repeatedly. And Shedeur looked like exactly what he is, a rookie quarterback still figuring out the speed and complexity of the NFL game. But here's the detail that had Browns fans collectively holding their breath during the second half. Shedeur suffered an ankle injury that forced him to leave the game for one play. Just one play. But in that moment, every Cleveland supporter was thinking the same thing. Please don't let this be serious. Please don't let us lose another quarterback to injury. Please don't send us back into the chaos of rotating signal callers and uncertainty. Fortunately, Shedeur came right back in and told reporters after the game that he was good, that the ankle wasn't a concern, that he'd be ready to go for Tennessee. Crisis averted, at least on the injury front. So why is Kevin Stefanski sticking with Shedeur Sanders despite the struggles? Why not go back to Dillon Gabriel, who had his own shot earlier in the season? Why not shake things up and try something different after getting embarrassed on national television? The answer reveals everything about how NFL franchises think about quarterback evaluation and long-term planning. Stefanski and the Browns front office are in the middle of an extended audition process, and they need more data before they can make an informed decision about the most important position in football. Let's rewind and look at how we got here because the journey is almost as important as the destination. Dillon Gabriel started the season as Cleveland's quarterback, the guy they were hoping could be a bridge solution, or maybe even develop into something more. But Gabriel's performances were inconsistent at best and downright awful at worst. He didn't show the arm talent, the decision-making, or the leadership qualities that make you believe he's a long-term answer. When he got hurt in Week 11 against Baltimore, it opened the door for Shedeur Sanders to get his opportunity. That first appearance against the Ravens was an absolute disaster, and there's no sugarcoating it. Shedeur came in for the injured Gabriel and proceeded to complete just 4 of 16 passes for 47 yards with an interception and 2 sacks. His passer rating was 13.5, which is almost impossible to achieve unless you're actively trying to play poorly. It was the kind of performance that makes casual fans wonder if the kid belongs on an NFL roster at all, let alone starting for a franchise desperate for quarterback stability. But here's what separates good coaching staffs from bad ones: the ability to contextualize performance and understand the circumstances surrounding it. Shedeur came into that Baltimore game completely cold, with 0 first-team reps in practice that week, against one of the best defenses in the entire NFL, in a hostile road environment. He was set up to fail, and fail he did. But the Browns coaching staff saw something in practice, something in how he prepared, something in his arm talent and his processing speed that made them want to see more. So they gave him a full week of first-team reps preparing for the Las Vegas Raiders in Week 12. And what happened? Shedeur became the first Browns rookie quarterback to win his debut start since 1995. He completed 11 of 20 passes for 209 yards with a long of 52 yards. That was Cleveland's longest pass play of the entire season. He showed poise, arm strength, and the ability to make plays when the structure broke down. Myles Garrett, one of the best defensive players in football, compared his arm talent to elite NFL quarterbacks. That performance earned Shedeur another start, another week as QB1, another opportunity to prove he belongs. Then came the San Francisco game, and reality came crashing back down. The 49ers, despite missing Nick Bosa and Fred Warner, absolutely suffocated Cleveland's offense. Shedeur struggled to find open receivers. The timing on routes was off. The offensive line couldn't protect consistently, and the Browns managed just 8 points in a game they desperately needed to win to keep their playoff hopes alive. It was the kind of performance that makes you question everything, that makes you wonder if the Las Vegas game was a fluke, that makes you consider going in a different direction. But Kevin Stefanski isn't panicking. He's not making emotional, reactionary decisions based on one bad game. He's thinking long-term. And that long-term thinking is why Shedeur Sanders remains QB1 heading into Week 14 against Tennessee. The Browns have to figure out whether they have a quarterback they can build around or whether they need to use one of their 2 first-round picks in the 2026 draft to address the position. You don't get that answer from one good start or one bad start. You need an extended sample size. You need to see how a young quarterback responds to adversity, how he handles different defensive schemes, how he develops with consistent first-team reps and proper preparation. That's exactly what's happening right now. Shedeur Sanders is getting an extended audition, the same way Dillon Gabriel got his earlier in the season. The difference is that Shedeur has shown flashes of the arm talent and playmaking ability that Gabriel simply doesn't possess. Gabriel is a smart, safe quarterback who doesn't make a lot of mistakes, but he also doesn't make the throws that win games in the NFL. Shedeur has elite arm talent, the ability to make throws from different platforms and arm angles, and the confidence to attack defenses vertically. Those traits are teachable. Decision-making improves with experience. Processing speed gets faster with more reps. But you can't teach arm talent. You either have it or you don't, and Shedeur Sanders absolutely has it. The matchup against Tennessee in Week 14 is absolutely fascinating from a quarterback evaluation standpoint because it's essentially a showcase of 2 rookie quarterbacks trying to prove they belong as franchise cornerstones. On one side, you have Shedeur Sanders, the 5th-round pick out of Colorado who's trying to prove he should have been a first-round selection all along. On the other side, you have Cam Ward, one of the most dynamic and exciting quarterback prospects to come out in recent years. A guy with elite athleticism and a big arm who many analysts thought could go in the top 10. This is a statement game for Shedeur. If he can outplay Cam Ward, if he can lead the Browns to a victory against a Tennessee team that's struggling but still dangerous, if he can show improvement from the San Francisco disaster and demonstrate that he's learning and developing, that goes a long way toward convincing Cleveland's front office that he has the juice to be a long-term starter. Conversely, if he struggles again, if the offense looks stagnant, if he can't move the ball against a Titans defense that's been vulnerable all season, the questions are going to get louder, and the calls to go back to Dillon Gabriel or look toward the draft are going to intensify. Let's talk about what the Browns are really looking for in these remaining games, because understanding the evaluation criteria helps explain why Stefanski is sticking with Shedeur. despite the rocky performance against San Francisco. NFL teams evaluating young quarterbacks aren't just looking at completion percentage or passer rating or touchdown to interception ratio. Those stats matter, sure, but they're not the whole story. What they're really looking for is arm talent, processing speed, leadership qualities, the ability to make plays outside of structure, and most importantly, the ability to improve and develop over time. Arm talent is the foundation of everything. Can the quarterback make all the throws required in a modern NFL offense? Can he fit balls into tight windows? Can he throw with velocity and accuracy from different platforms? Can he attack the entire field vertically and horizontally? Shedeur Sanders checks every single one of those boxes. That 52-yard bomb to Isaiah Bond against Las Vegas wasn't a fluke. That was elite arm talent on display, the ability to deliver a strike downfield while under pressure. You can't teach that. You either have the arm or you don't. Processing speed is the next critical component. How quickly can a quarterback identify what the defense is doing, work through his progressions, and deliver the ball to the right receiver? This is where rookies typically struggle most because the speed of the NFL game is so much faster than college. Defenders disguise coverages better. Blitz packages are more complex. Windows open and close in fractions of a second. Shedeur has shown flashes of good processing, particularly against Las Vegas, where he made quick decisions and got the ball out on time. Against San Francisco, he struggled more, holding the ball too long at times and missing open receivers. But that's correctable with experience and coaching. Processing speed improves naturally as quarterbacks see more defensive looks and get more comfortable with the offense. Leadership is harder to quantify, but just as important. Does the quarterback command respect in the huddle? Do his teammates believe in him? Does he elevate the play of those around him? By all accounts from inside the Browns locker room, Shedeur Sanders has excellent leadership qualities. He's confident without being arrogant. He prepares meticulously. He holds himself accountable when things go wrong. Those are the intangibles that matter in franchise quarterback evaluation. The ability to make plays outside of structure, what coaches call off-schedule playmaking, is increasingly important in the modern NFL. Defenses are too good, too well-coached, too athletic for everything to work as designed on every play. You need a quarterback who can extend plays with his legs, keep his eyes downfield while evading pressure, and create something out of nothing when the play breaks down. Shedeur has demonstrated that ability at a high level. Robert Saleh, the 49ers defensive coordinator, specifically called out Shedeur's off-schedule playmaking as something that would be a problem for defenses. That's not coach speak. That's a legitimate evaluation of a dangerous trait. Most importantly, the Browns are evaluating whether Shedeur can improve and develop over time. Nobody expects a rookie quarterback, especially a fifth-round pick with limited first-team reps, to be perfect immediately. What they want to see is progress. Is he making the same mistakes repeatedly, or is he learning from them? Is his decision-making improving? Is he getting more comfortable in the offense? Is he building chemistry with his receivers? Those are the questions that can only be answered with an extended look, which is exactly what Kevin Stefanski is providing. The Cleveland Browns are in a fascinating position heading into the 2026 draft. They currently hold 2 first-round picks, which gives them enormous flexibility to address multiple roster needs, or potentially move up for a premium prospect. If the evaluation process determines that neither Shedeur Sanders nor Dillon Gabriel is starting material, Cleveland absolutely will use one of those picks on a quarterback. The position is too important to get wrong, and the Browns have suffered for decades because they couldn't find a reliable answer under center. But here's the thing. Using a first-round pick on a quarterback when you might already have one on the roster is a waste of resources that could be used to build around your young signal caller. If Shedeur can demonstrate over these final weeks that he's capable of being a franchise quarterback, that he has the arm talent, the decision-making, and the leadership qualities to lead this team, then Cleveland can use those first-round picks on premium weapons, offensive line help, or defensive playmakers. That's how you build a championship roster. Find your quarterback, then surround him with talent. The Tennessee Titans matchup presents a perfect opportunity for Shedeur to make his case. Tennessee's defense has been vulnerable all season, ranking in the bottom third of the league in most major categories. They struggle to generate pressure on the quarterback, which should give Shedeur time to work through his progressions and find open receivers. Their secondary has been susceptible to big plays, which plays right into Shedeur's strength of attacking vertically with his big arm. And Tennessee's offense, while improved under Cam Ward, still has consistency issues that should keep the game competitive and give Shedeur multiple possessions to operate. This is a game Cleveland should win if Shedeur plays anywhere near his capability. The Browns are at home where they've been much better all season. They're facing a Titans team that struggled on the road. The weather should be relatively mild for December in Cleveland. The offensive line should have success protecting against Tennessee's mediocre pass rush. Every single circumstance is aligned for Shedeur to have a breakout performance that silences the doubters and convinces the organization he's the future. But there's also enormous pressure that comes with that opportunity. If Shedeur struggles against a bad Tennessee defense at home, if he can't move the ball consistently, if the offense looks as stagnant and lifeless as it did against San Francisco, the narrative completely flips. Suddenly, you're not talking about a promising young quarterback who needs more development time. You're talking about a fifth-round pick who might not be good enough to start in the NFL. And the conversation shifts immediately to which quarterback Cleveland should target in the first round of the draft. That's the reality of being an NFL quarterback, especially for a team like the Browns that's been desperate for stability at the position for literally decades. There's no patience, no benefit of the doubt, no extended runway to figure things out. You either show you can play or you get replaced. It's brutal and unforgiving. But that's the nature of the beast when you're trying to be the guy at the most important position in team sports. Dillon Gabriel, meanwhile, sits on the sideline watching all of this unfold with a mixture of frustration and hope. Frustration because he lost his job due to injury and hasn't been able to win it back despite Shedeur's inconsistent performances. Hope because if Shedeur continues to struggle, the door might open for Gabriel to get another opportunity to prove himself. But the reality is that Gabriel had his chance earlier in the season and didn't do enough to convince the coaching staff he was the answer. His ceiling appears to be that of a competent backup or short-term bridge starter, not a franchise quarterback you can build around for a decade. The quarterback position in the NFL is unique in how quickly fortunes can change and how dramatically one decision can alter the trajectory of an entire franchise. Look at what happened with the Houston Texans when they drafted C.J. Stroud. 1 year ago, they were a laughingstock with no direction and no hope. Now they're playoff contenders with a franchise quarterback who looks like a future Hall of Famer. Look at what happened with the Indianapolis Colts when they landed Peyton Manning or the Green Bay Packers when they drafted Aaron Rodgers. Getting the quarterback position right changes everything, and getting it wrong condemns you to mediocrity or worse. Cleveland Browns fans have lived through decades of getting it wrong. They've watched parade after parade of quarterbacks come through that building, each one bringing hope and leaving nothing but disappointment. Tim Couch, Brady Quinn, Brandon Weeden, Johnny Manziel, Deshaun Kaiser, Baker Mayfield. The list goes on, a graveyard of failed prospects and broken promises. That's why this decision about Shedeur Sanders matters so much. Browns fans are desperate, absolutely desperate for someone to finally be the guy, to finally end the quarterback carousel and provide stability at the most important position. Kevin Stefanski understands that desperation, that hunger for a solution. That's why he's being so deliberate with this evaluation process. He can't afford to rush to judgment based on one good game or one bad game. He needs to see Shedeur in multiple situations, against different defensive schemes, in varying weather conditions, with the game on the line. Only then can he make an informed recommendation to the front office about whether they have their quarterback or whether they need to keep searching. The beauty of having 2 first-round picks in 2026 is that the Browns have options regardless of how Shedeur's audition plays out. If he proves himself, they can use those picks to build around him and create a championship-caliber roster. If he doesn't, they can package those picks to move up and get their preferred quarterback prospect, or they can take the best available quarterback with 1 pick and use the other to address a different need. That flexibility is incredibly valuable and removes some of the pressure from having to get this decision perfect right now. But make no mistake, the pressure on Shedeur Sanders is immense. He's playing for his future, playing to prove he belongs, playing to show he should have been a first-round pick all along. Every throw matters. Every decision matters. Every game is a referendum on whether he has what it takes to be an NFL starting quarterback. That's a lot to put on the shoulders of a rookie fifth-round pick. But that's also the reality of the position he plays and the franchise he plays for. The Cam Ward matchup adds another fascinating layer to the story because it's essentially a direct comparison between two rookie quarterbacks with very different paths to the NFL. Ward was a highly touted prospect who went much earlier in the draft and landed in a situation where he was expected to start immediately and be the future of the franchise. Shedeur was a fifth-round pick who many expected to sit and develop for at least a year. Now they're going head-to-head in Week 14, and the quarterback who plays better is going to get lauded while the one who struggles is going to face intense scrutiny. This is the kind of game that can define a young quarterback's career trajectory. If Shedeur significantly outplays Ward, if he shows better decision-making, better accuracy, better command of the offense, that becomes part of his permanent record. Scouts and analysts will point back to this game as evidence that he was undervalued in the draft, that he deserves to be mentioned in the same breath as the more highly touted prospects. Conversely, if Ward dominates while Shedeur struggles, it reinforces the narrative that maybe the draft analysts were right, maybe Shedeur was appropriately valued as a day 3 pick, maybe he's not the answer Cleveland is looking for. The stakes couldn't be higher for everyone involved. For Shedeur, it's about proving he belongs and securing his future as a starting NFL quarterback. For Kevin Stefanski, it's about making the right evaluation decision that could determine whether he's still the head coach in Cleveland beyond this season. For the Browns front office, it's about finally solving the quarterback puzzle that has plagued this franchise for generations. And for Browns fans, it's about hope, about believing that maybe, just maybe, this time will be different. What happens over the next few weeks will provide clarity one way or another. Either Shedeur Sanders will demonstrate consistent improvement, show he can learn from mistakes, and convince everyone that he's capable of being a franchise quarterback, or he won't. There's no middle ground at this point. The evaluation window is closing, the draft is approaching, and decisions have to be made. Kevin Stefanski's announcement that Shedeur will remain QB1 for Week 14 buys him more time, gives him another opportunity, extends the audition. But that opportunity comes with enormous pressure to perform, to show growth, to prove the decision was justified. If you're a Cleveland Browns fan, the next month is going to be absolutely crucial for determining the direction of your franchise. You're going to find out whether Shedeur Sanders is the answer you've been searching for, or whether you're right back in the quarterback market next April. You're going to discover whether Kevin Stefanski's faith in this young quarterback is justified, or whether it's another mistake in a long line of quarterback evaluation errors. And you're going to learn whether this organization has finally figured out how to identify and develop quarterback talent, or whether the curse continues for another generation. The announcement is made. The decision is final. Shedeur Sanders will start against the Tennessee Titans in Week 14. Now we get to see if Kevin Stefanski's faith is rewarded or whether the Browns are right back where they've been for decades, searching desperately for a quarterback who can finally end the madness. If you made it all the way through this deep dive into the Cleveland Browns quarterback situation, you need to smash that like button right now and subscribe to this channel because we're going to be covering every single snap of Shedeur Sanders' journey over these critical final weeks of the season. Drop a comment below and tell me, is Shedeur Sanders the real deal, or should the Browns be looking at quarterbacks in the first round of the draft? Do you believe Kevin Stefanski is making the right call keeping him as QB1, or should Dillon Gabriel get another chance? Let's have that debate in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video where we break down exactly what Shedeur needs to do against Tennessee to prove he's the franchise quarterback Cleveland has been desperately searching for.